Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe. This is episode 140. Before I do anything, I have to go into my phone all the time to see what number the last episode was before I start recording. And I noticed on Spotify we have 96 5-star ratings. If you are listening on Spotify and you have not yet rated the podcast, could you just go do it? Like, you can still listen to it while you're doing it. Just back out, go to the podcast homepage, and then there's like what is it that says? I'll check. It's like rating or rate this podcast or something like that. Tap the 3 dots on the actual podcast page, not on the episode, and then rate show. There we go. It's at 96. And of course, you don't have to rate it 5 stars, but I mean, you don't want to be the first person not to. Anyway, today we are going to talk about weirdness. So I did a check-in yesterday, and one of my clients had been out for dinner with a group of friends. She's quite a social person, and when we do check-ins, we always start check-ins with NSVs, non-scale victories. Basically, what progress are you making that has got nothing to do with your weight? I don't want to start any check-in focusing on weight. Weight is never the focal point of what we do. Now, I know if you're on the outside world, you might think, oh, but I want to lose weight. That's terrible. I want you to focus on my weight. I do focus on it. I analyse it. I check it. I make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. But this isn't Slimming World, it's not Weight Watchers, where absolutely everything is about the fucking scales. Progress, we'll save that for another part. I'm not going to get distracted today, or go on tangents, we're not doing that. But progress is not just what is that number doing, it's across the board. So this one, this lady wanted to tell me that she had been out for a meal, and she had thoroughly enjoyed it. She had ate until she was full. She had stopped eating. She didn't feel the need to clear her plate. And when the dessert menu came round, she said, no, thank you. Now, there are 2 ways to say no, thank you. They are when you're trying to lose weight. And when you're trying to improve yourself and improve your eating habits and your relationship with food and all of these things. There is no thanks, I'm on a diet, which is the worst way to say no thank you, because what that really means is, yes, I would absolutely love to eat that thing, but I'm trying to restrict myself and I'm on a diet and I'm trying to lose weight, right? And that's horrendous because that's restriction. Nobody has ever successfully lost weight and kept it off. I mean, that I can't say that with certainty, but most people do not lose weight by restricting themselves, because that depends entirely on willpower, your ability to stop yourself. I need to hold myself back and just wrestle myself to not eat that thing. Then there's the positive way to say no thank you, which is what I try to bring out in everyone that I work with, and it happened on this occasion, where she thought about it. Do I want a dessert? No, do you know what? I am actually full. And if I was going to get a dessert, it would be just because everyone else is getting one. And that is a fucking stupid reason to put food in your body, which we're going to get to. So she said, no thanks. And that was it. It wasn't, no thank you, I'm on a diet. It wasn't, yes, I would love to, but I'm trying to lose weight, so I really need to hold myself back. She didn't look at anyone else at the table. She didn't take into account what everyone else was doing. She checked in with her own body and asked herself the question, do I really need a dessert right now? Do I really want a dessert right now? And the answer was no. And she rounded off that decision in the best possible way by following through on it. So, checked in with her body. I am comfortably full. If I was to eat anything else, I would be uncomfortably full. And that would really take the enjoyment off this meal. So while a dessert might be nice, this time, it's a no thank you. Next time it might be a yes please. Now, this is the part I want to get to, because she followed it up with, I said no to dessert and it didn't feel weird. And it didn't feel weird. Why would it feel weird to not eat something? So what she meant there, and she did explained further, is that I thought I would feel weird because everyone else was having a dessert and I wasn't. So I counteracted that and said, no. What would be weird is for you to look at other people, see them putting calories in their body, and thinking that means you have to put calories in your body. We have these very, very backwards ideas about social eating. Eating is not a game. It's not something you have to participate in. It's not something you have to do because other people are doing. It's not something you have to say yes to every time somebody offers you something. Would you know what needs to die? I feel like I want to swear a lot because this is something that really gets to me. Something that needs to die is this idea that you are ever going to offend someone by not eating on command, right? You are not a dog. You are not a puppy in training. If someone says, would you like a biscuit? You're not meant to go, oh, yes, please. I'm a good boy. Give me a biscuit. You're not supposed to eat just because someone offers you something. If someone offers you a punch in the face, you don't say yes because you don't want to offend the person. You say, no, don't punch me in the fucking face. Oh, but it's food. You're supposed to say yes. No, you're not. Something that I really want to challenge, and I do this in every single person I work with, I challenge everything, because that's why people are in the position they're in. They don't challenge themselves. They don't stop themselves and say, wait a minute. Why do you think that? Why do you feel that? Where did you hear that? Where does that come from? So it's like, okay, well, other people at the table, there's 6 other people at the table, 6 of them have ordered dessert, but you don't want one. What is the correct thing to do here? Is it to do something that you don't want to do because other people are doing it? Or is it to listen to your own body's needs, to check in with your own body and see if you actually need or want one? This idea that we have to eat on command, we have to eat because it's being offered, we have to eat because that's what everybody else is doing. When, I know I talk about this a lot, but I've spoke about it in a general sense about food attachments. So like food attachments are the thing that dictate your weight mostly, right? You have breakfast, you have lunch, you have dinner. And if that was the end of it and we had a balanced diet, none of us would have any issues with our weight. But we don't just do that. We have food attachments. We eat because your husband's walked in and you see him eating something and you go, oh, he's eating something. I want to eat something. Even though you don't need anything, even though you weren't thinking about food, even though you weren't about to get up and go to the kitchen yourself, you went, oh, he's got something now, I want something. And then, the various other food attachments that we spoke about quite a lot in recent episodes. It's every time I go to this place, I eat. Every time I'm in the car, like my wife, we were driving back from Blackpool, and my wife was talking about her weight, how she had a dress fitting in a couple of weeks for a friend's wedding, and then also opened a bag of sweets. Now, it's got nothing to do with me. I don't get involved. Like, despite me being a nutritionist and doing what I do, these kind of discussions don't come up at home, right? But I didn't ask her about her weight. She, oh God, I've just realised dress fitting in 2 weeks. I'm going to have to, whatever. But then also opened a bag of sweets because my wife has this thing. So she's a snacker. She is a grazer. She would happily not eat meals. She has to force herself to eat meals because she knows that the snacking, grazing thing isn't helpful. So she has to kind of, intentionally force herself to have breakfast in the morning. Otherwise, she knows that when she starts the day snacking, that's it. But she said to me, we spoke about eating in the car. And she said, oh, I just need to have a taste in my mouth. And I'm sure many of you will relate to that. I don't, because I don't get that. But I know that some people do. There are people who constantly need to have a taste in their mouth. For whatever reason, it's a personal preference. It's not something I've ever experienced, but I've obviously heard about it from working with people. My wife's one of those people, and that's probably why she developed her snacky grazing type approach to eating. Anyway, getting distracted. But these are just examples of attachments. Every time I eat in the car, I've got a bag of sweets because when I'm driving, I need to have a taste in my mouth. For whatever reason. So this is a food attachment. It is. It's a food attachment. It's every time other people eat, I feel the need to go along with it. And the problem with that is food attachments dictate your weight. Every food attachment you have adds weight to your body and keeps that weight on your body. If you regularly go out for meals a few times a month, and every time you go out for those meals, but if I ever go out for a meal and it's not just my family, maybe like it's other people or extended family, but if I go out for a meal and it's not just my wife and my kids, and someone will say to me, "Are you having a starter?" I won't answer them. I'll just say, "Oh, I don't know." Because it kind of annoys me a little bit. Like, the person's not annoying me. It's the idea that we need to ask other people what they are going to do with their food choices. We need to ask other people about what they're going to do with the calories they're going to put in their body before we make a decision about the calories we put in ours. It's so fucking stupid. It makes no sense to me. It makes sense to you because when you sit down for a meal, you want to people please. You want to make sure that you're doing the same thing as everyone else. You want your approval seeking or people pleasing or whatever it is you think you're doing. You think you're going to cause offence by not doing what someone else is doing, which is outrageous. And you might not know this from your end of the world, my end of the world, having worked with thousands of people. It is so ridiculously common, this idea, right? And I ask everybody, and honestly, this comes up hundreds and hundreds of times every year. Oh, I didn't want to say no because I didn't want to offend them. I didn't want to do this because I didn't want to offend them. And I'll always ask the question, have you ever gone for a meal and sat there absolutely fuming, looking at someone else at the table because they're not eating a starter? Have you ever done that? The answer is no. And I have asked that question to thousands of people over the last 8 years. And the answer is always no. Why would I? Exactly. Why would you? Why would fucking anyone? People do not get offended because you will not cycle calories through your body. And this is the way I view it now. This is why you keep hearing me say things like cycle calories through your body. Use your body as a calorie filtration system. I want to make it sound so ridiculously disconnected from your needs. To make it sound stupid. To make you realise that, actually, why am I doing that? My body told me I was hungry. I had my lunch earlier. I knew I was going out for dinner tonight. I had a light lunch. My tummy was rumbling. I was physically hungry. I was ready for this meal. I've had my main meal. I've stopped eating when I started to feel full. I've had a couple of drinks. I'm starting to feel a little bit bagged up. I do not need to eat any more food tonight. I am done. I'm quite happy. Over and out. And then the dessert menu comes out. And then you look around the table and go, oh no. She's having a dessert. So's he. So's that kid at the end of the table. Oh no. I'm going to have one now. Why? Did somebody just say, you better have one? No. Did one of the people having a dessert look at you aggressively and say, you better have a dessert or I'm not going to be able to enjoy mine? All this shit that we tell ourselves is completely made up in our own heads. You are thinking other people's thoughts for them. You are wrong because they're not thinking that. You're placing your thoughts in that person's head and then you are reacting to your own thoughts. And this is what's fascinating for me because you think you're doing something because of someone else. You're not. You're doing something because of you. If I'm sitting at a table eating a dessert, I have got absolutely zero interest in what anyone around me is doing. I do not care. Unless someone's eating something that looks nicer than mine and I go, shit, I wish I'd got that. I'm not looking at someone who's not eating going, oh, this is terrible. Look at that person sitting there not putting food in their body while I'm putting food in mine. I am outraged. It's so bloody stupid. And yet, it's a thought that is responsible for hundreds and hundreds of pounds in body weight. How many times have you eaten because other people are eating? How many times have you gone to a restaurant with the intention of only having a main because you're not that hungry, but then you do that thing at the start? Are you having a starter? Oh, I better have a starter then. Why? You do not need to join in with eating. Nothing happens. Nothing changes. Let them eat the starter. You can sit and eat your drink. You can drink your drink. It doesn't matter. So yeah, and like I said, these thoughts are entirely created by you. I'm sure none of you have ever gone through an experience where, and this is the thing, normally when we have these thoughts or these behaviours, they come from somewhere. It's not like any of you have ever gone for a meal and you've not ordered a dessert and someone has stood up in the middle of a restaurant and created an absolute scene and pointed a finger at you and announced to the entire restaurant, look at this person. We're all having a dessert and they're not having one, and everybody in the restaurant turned around and went, boo. That has never happened. And if it did, that would be the kind of thing that, oh, Jesus Christ, every time I go out for a meal, I'm going to make sure I have 3 courses. It's not. It's just, for some reason, we grow up thinking that not eating is somehow offensive to people. If I'm ever offered food, 99.9% of the time, I will say no, because I never place myself in a position where my eating is dependent on other people. If I go to my in-laws' house, I don't get offered anymore, I haven't for years, but in the beginning, if I went to my in-laws' house and they made a cup of tea, the biscuit tin would have come out. Do you want a biscuit? No. If I wanted a biscuit, I would have brought biscuits. Do you know what I mean? This whole... Do you know, I watch Gogglebox sometimes, and there's a family there that have got the big dogs. And the dad's bald and he sits on the couch, and the wife's always there. Sometimes there's 2 sons. The dogs have got absolute human names. I can't, George maybe, one of them. Anyway, they're sitting watching TV and they always have a tray in the middle of the table stacked with cakes and donuts. And I watch things like that thinking, God, I would never do that. And that's fine. Everybody does different things. The point is that you learn a lot about how other people do things in their own homes. I cannot ever imagine sitting down to watch TV and putting a stack of cakes in the middle of the room, because I would eat them, because they were there and they were in my view. And every time the adverts came on and went, oh, and it's boring now, I'd look down and go, oh, this would be a great time for a donut. That would be a food attachment. I'd be carrying an extra £5 because I kept putting plates of donuts down when I sat down to watch the TV. In the same way that, sometimes when you go to people's houses, they might, they'll make a cup of tea, but then they'll make up this little plate that's covered in biscuits. Why are you doing that? I don't want biscuits. I mean, I understand it. It's a gesture. It's a thing that they've created. It's how they do things. But it's also forcing people into a situation to eat. And the thing is, it's not forcing. That's an absolute wrong word to use. It's not forcing anyone to do anything. But when we live in a world where so many people feel obliged to eat when offered because they're worried about causing offence, see if everybody just stopped offering everybody food, the world would be a much healthier place. Because then no one would have to make any awkward decisions. No one would have any internal dialogue going on. Oh God, they're going to be really angry if I don't eat that. So, You need to get... And here's the funny thing, right? Even if somebody did get offended by you saying no, it's going to be like a 1 in 1,000 thing. You say no 1,000 times. On the 1,000th time, you're going to run into one person who's annoyed because they baked something especially for you coming. So even if you don't want to outright say no, just say, do you know what, I'll thank you, I will take some, but I'll take it home and I'll have it later because I've just eaten. So, back to the point. My client said, I said no to dessert and everyone else had one and I didn't actually feel weird. In fact, I felt quite proud of myself. And so she should. She, I can't remember what age she is. Most of my clients are now like late 30s, into their 40s, into their 50s. I can't remember what age she is, but for a lifetime, she has been thinking other people's thoughts for them and reacting to her own thoughts. Oh my God, people are going to be offended. I better eat this so that nobody is offended. Nobody was offended. Nobody was even thinking about it. It was a complete internal dialogue, a self-created thing that she then reacted to and had been reacting to for years. And on this occasion, she went, do you know what? I'm going to make a decision for me this time. I've had my meal. I'm not hungry. I'm full. I could have a dessert if I wanted one, because that's massively encouraged, but also making good decisions is encouraged. Inside the Monroe method, I mean. You know, if you don't need or want something and you have it anyway, that's a bad decision. If you are full, but you see your favourite dessert on the menu and you say, do you know what, I'm going to get that, but I'll share it with my husband. Or I'll have a couple of spoonfuls just because I want to have some of it. Or I'll ask for that dessert to be boxed up and I'll take it home and I'll have it later on with a cup of tea, or I'll have it tomorrow at some point. You know, I'll have a smaller dinner and I'll leave room for my dessert this time. Do you know what? Before I'm going to wrap this up, but something to leave you with and something to think about. When you go to a restaurant, you know, the whole 3-course thing is ridiculous for the vast majority of people, because most people do not eat some of something and then stop and say, actually, I've got another course coming, I better not eat all this. Most people don't do that. They go to a restaurant and they'll say, I'll have that for starter, I'll have that for my main, and let's get an extra couple of side portions of this and this. And they will eat all of it, because they have the mentality that, well, I'm paying for it, so I need to eat it. You will not find anyone who is a healthy weight who has that attitude, because that attitude does not lead people to be a healthy weight. It leads most of them to become overweight. Clearing every plate of food is not associated with lower levels of body fat. Eating 3 courses when you go out for a meal is not associated with having lower levels of body fat. These are excessive behaviours. Excessive behaviours will only ever lead to one place. And it just circles back to that bloody never-ending core message that I always find myself landing on, where it's, your weight didn't get to where it was just because it didn't happen to you, it didn't happen overnight. Your weight is exactly where it's supposed to be, because that's the accumulation of your habits, your mindset, your approach. If you are someone who doesn't want to cause offence while eating, we'll call that an attachment, because if you say yes to every time you're offered food, or you eat that extra course because other people are, you are choosing to add weight to your body, because you are choosing to have a moment of excess. And it doesn't have to be a lot. Like, excess does not mean thousands of calories. Excess does not mean like an individual occasion that equates to thousands of calories. Excess can be hundreds of different occasions, leading to 50 calories, 80 calories, 100 calories. It can be often, but it can be little, and that's enough. So this is just one more of those things where, when it comes to losing weight, everybody wants to know what's the right food to eat. I need a meal plan. How many calories should I be eating? What's good for you? What's the best thing to eat? None of that. That stuff is a drop in the ocean. You can do all that stuff, but if you have all the habits that stuff will only take you so far. Like, I know we spoke about this in an episode maybe a little while ago now, about, when I work with people who have a lot of weight to lose, who are maybe 18, 19, 20 stone, they're trying to lose 5, 6, 7, 8 stones. They have many challenges because, yes, you can give them some calorie numbers and you can help them, and they might lose 3 or 4 stone, but they're going to get stuck. Because the reason their weight is where it is because they have a number of habits which they carry out at scale that took their weight to that level. So you get so far and then they can't get any farther. And that's the point where you have to say, right, well, we're going to have to work on this thing. You're going to have to stop doing this, or you're going to have to start doing less of this, or you're going to have to start doing this, because we've now reached a point where the numbers aren't going to get you any farther because there's a roadblock, there's something stopping you. One of the things that took your weight to where it was, you've now came back to the base level where it started off affecting you, and now you need to address it, because if you don't address it, you're not going to get any farther. We're going to have to really tackle your emotional eating, your stress eating, your procrastination eating, your when the kids are in bed, this is my me time eating. Because that's now the sticking point. You're stuck at 15 stone because you've now met one of your food attachments and you now cannot push through it. So your weight is exactly where it's supposed to be, because that is where all of your thoughts, all of your habits, all of your behaviours take it. So yes, anybody can hand you a meal plan or give you a number of calories, and if you follow it for long enough, you'll get so far, but you're going to eventually come to a point where you're going to lose all the weight you could possibly lose by following that. And now your next challenge is your habit-related weight. The extra 10 pounds that you're carrying because you always have 3 courses. The extra 10 pounds you're carrying because you're somebody who clears every plate. The extra 5 pounds you're carrying because you snack while you're making the dinner, then you sit down and eat your entire dinner. Every habit, every food-related habit you have is assigning a portion of weight to your body. And this is why dieting does not and never will work. Because dieting bypasses all of that. This is why people think they plateau. It's why they think they get so far and get stuck and go back the way. It's because they make the mistake of thinking the thing that they were doing was going to take them all the way to the finish line. Like, you are not overweight because you don't count calories. You're not overweight because you don't have a 14-day meal plan to follow. You're not overweight because you don't go to Slimming World or Weight Watchers. Following things like that get you part way, maybe even to the finish line. But if you've got more than 5 or 10 pounds to lose, and you do have a greater distance to go, you are going to run into each of your habits, and you're going to have to address each of your habits. If you don't, you're banging your head off a brick wall. You're trying to force a diet to help you break through habits that are trying to keep putting weight on your body. So you've got these two opposing forces working against each other. And that's why people think they're in a weight loss plateau. They're not. They've just reached a point where their approach has to change. You've now hit a point where you need to stop, analyse yourself and say, okay, I need to work on this habit. I need to, it's the end of term. English schools finish up in a couple of weeks. There's lots of I've got a ridiculous amount of teachers in the community. I've joked about this at the start of the year. Almost every single person whose starting stats I was doing was a teacher. It was so strange. Or teaching related, school related. End of term's coming up. There's lots of stress attached to that. If you are someone who stress eats, you're going to be doing more of that stress eating right now. And if you're trying to lose weight at the same time, you're going to find losing weight very challenging, because you're counting your calories, or you're following your meal plan, or you're doing Slimming World or Weight Watchers, and you're not getting anywhere because you're now stress eating at a higher level and it's stopping you from moving forward. Anyway, enough from me. So, it is not weird to not eat because you see other people eating. What is weird is looking at someone else and going, oh, that person is putting food in their mouth. I must have to put food in my mouth now. And yes, I do say it like that because I want it to sound stupid. I want you to realise how ridiculous it is to think that that is what you're supposed to do. God, imagine where your weight would be right now if you stopped thinking that. If 10 years ago, because that's probably when I went through that kind of thought process. It's almost been 10 years since I lost weight and kept it off. 2016, I lost weight for the very last time. I'm almost there. But yeah, imagine 10 years ago you realised, actually, I don't need to eat 3 courses. I don't need to have a starter because other people are having a starter. I don't need to have a dessert because other people are having a dessert. How many thousands of calories, tens of thousands of calories, might you have not consumed? How many pounds or potentially stones might you not have gained? So remember, this is just one example of hundreds where we create ideas around food that lead to excess. And remember, excess does not mean stuffing yourself. Excess means to do more of something than you need. It doesn't matter if it's 100 calories or 3,000 calories. Excess is excess. And every little moment of excess that we address brings our weight down a little bit. Sometimes a big bit. Depending how often you're doing the thing. Anyway, enough from me. I've got that all out my system now. I'll go enjoy the rest of my walk. Until next time.